awusia nano ada ene beto dwa se Goldbod ene IMF ye good dwadi omudi se yento gold e wo man ni mu na yenkoton no ye amanone no amanfo ekiremu anase IMF for e de report e beto abonte ana omo chese sa good dwadi ya Goldbod edi Goldbod abo man ne ka be se $214 million ho asem ebeye edija ewo man mu na after say IMF for de sa report we beto abonten no amanfo bebre e na ato ma no agusu a omatwen ne sere ene abasa ebi mu kire se in 2024 elections wa bra na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama campaign no kire se the game changer the betimi ababe change Ghana economy no Goldbod because o kire se revenue a ebetimi generate edi ama Ghana economy no enya asem ketua into what the year fato say eno na ebe stabilize ye cedi no aside that no ebesa nso ama economy no boost economy no ama sika bibiri aba man ni mu a enya asem ketua na eno na amanfo chese any Goldbod according to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama no eno na ebe solve more than 50% of Ghana problems ayewo no eno mpo na ahyaase a just 9 months yi ama oman Ghana abaka bese $214 million enye after say 4 years no ebekwa awiye de enye na enye kaketwa na Goldbod no abo ede ama oman no na lawyer Sammy Gyamfi a oye Goldbod omo CEO eba abonten ede nsema hodo beto abonten ebe kirikire mu as to how a ofi say sa report a IMF for ede ababeto abonten no okire mu ani nyina no nkontopo nsema enye no kre amanfo a reply no on data omo chese the time a IMF for ba abonten ebebo Ghana ya economy abaso ana omo chese economy no ejina ne na so ba no ene de na amanfo nyina na se NDC amanyuku ni nyina no ebojo omo so na this time around IMF for edi negative report ababeto abonten omo kire enioma hodo ana se how a economy no ekoso ewo Goldbod ene de eno de fake amanfo bebre edi omanu agum ewo sanse mu ne no ena lawyer opon kroma ofuase ayerebi omo MP ono nso de nsema ababeto abonten a wo kire sa $214 million na according to IMF no Ghana aboka ho no o kire se enso wa eka no fofra ho a o kire se eno nso more than $300 and something million eno nso ho asem ahwe a enche bia na beba ama Ghana fo nyina ehu a enya asenketo nsem de lawyer opon kroma edododo na ato yenko how we chirchiri mu as to how Ghana si ahwe ya $300 and something million ebesa so aboka
worth of trading losses have been occasioned in the first 9 months of this year. As a caucus, when we run our numbers, we can project that it's going to get to about $300 million by the end of this year. $214 million in losses under the Gold for Reserve scheme is just 9 months. But there are a few other issues under that we want to draw your attention to as part of our preliminary remarks. First is to explain to you how these losses are being occasioned. Small-scale miners will not sell unless they are paid true global market prices, even if a slight discount is given to them, and at an exchange rate which the forex bureaus use. Second, the Goldbod therefore has to pay miners at real market value. However, Goldbod then sells the dollars it receives from offshore buyers back to the Bank of Ghana at the BOG or interbank rate, which is a weaker rate. Goldbod protects its books by passing the exchange rate losses directly onto the Bank of Ghana. So this is not a market fluctuation problem. This is a system that is designed to make losses. And so intermediaries will remain secure and profitable. For those of you who recall, when the Goldbod Act was being passed, we extensively outlined why the regulator should be decoupled from a commercial entity that could do this and make profit. And you recall that we suggested that it would be better to have a limited liability company with capital so that this doesn't happen. This is exactly what has happened now. And so far, $214 million of loss, going towards $300 million by the end of the year. The third issue that we want to draw your attention to. This is not how the original structure of the Gold for Reserves program was designed. Now let's remind the nation about what the original structure was. It was a sovereign reserve building tool to help Ghana accumulate physical gold, strengthen our balance sheet, reduce reliance on foreign currency borrowing, and gradually stabilize the cedi. Under the original design, which was introduced by the NPP, Ghana's reserves increased from 8.7 tons to 31 tons in just 2 years. And no losses accrued because BOG bought physical gold directly for its reserves and not through intermediaries like some of who we have outlined, and not for speculative purposes. Now the model has been changed, contrary to the advice and all the advocacy that we did. And the Bank of Ghana, under the new structure, under the reset, they have ceded their mandate to the Goldbod, and Goldbod has also ceded to a private company, Bower Rock Limited, which now operates primarily as a trading company, not a reserve builder. And the moment we shift from holding strategic gold to trading gold, pricing and FX risks will appear. And the taxpayer in the end is the one who has to pay the $300 million at the end of the year. Now, despite unprecedented volumes of gold passing through Goldbod, our reserves have increased only from 31 tons to 38 tons, which undermines the past 22%, just 7 tons after all this theater. Under the MPP, without this theater, we increased by 256%. This is not prioritization of reserves, it's prioritization of rent seeking. This is where media attention should be focused. And that's why we're saying that these are preliminary remarks that we are beginning to draw your attention to, and we'll share more with you as we go along. Now, for those who just hear $214 million and consider it just as a figure, let us refuse the temptation to treat this matter as an abstract number. $214 million, that is from the beginning of the year to September, not the full one. It could have built 12 fully equipped Agenda 111 district hospitals, which the MPP and which this administration has refused to continue so far. It could have built 30 modest hospitals or 40 to 60,000 boreholes in many villages across this country, providing clean, safe water to villages, schools, clinics, and farming communities. $214 million could have employed many teachers and nurses who are struggling to catch the eye of the government to pay or to issue the necessary financial clearance so that they could be recruited and paid. So when the government tells you that they have lost $214 million, it's not just a number. It's jobs, it's roads, it's people's lives that they have lost. But that is not the full story. Again, if you will remember, when the Goldbod Act was being passed, we spoke extensively about the need for traceability so that Ghana's money will not be used to fund the purchase of Galamsey gold. Now, while the financial tragedy unfolds, another crisis is deepening. Illegal mining is continuing at unprecedented levels. You are observing on your television sets the destruction still of our forests and water bodies. Yet, we are told that the purchase that is going on is not a purchase of Galamsey gold. If you check the data, the export numbers by the large-scale exporters hasn't changed much. And today, There are no other exporters in town except the Goldbod. So who is buying the Galamsey gold? Question out there that as we go along, we'll begin to point direct answers to. What is even more worrying is that in the face of devastation, what we are seeing are statements being issued from the Goldbod and the Bank of Ghana trying to obfuscate. They rely on some words in the original IMF draft to suggest that this is speculative or that this is a significant downside risk. We must be clear. A loss of $214 million has already been made. It will be about $1 million at the end of the year. And the people of Ghana cannot be taken for fools by some long-winded statements seeking to parry this tragedy away. Colleagues, the truth about this government is that they have not introduced any superior economic ideas to governance. All that they've been doing is rebranding, renaming old things that have been done, and sometimes even hiding the details until we, in the minority, call it out for the Ghanaian public to see. Now, today, they are relying on this rebranding, but rebranding without the requisite competence and the requisite attention to the structural issues will be disastrous in the end. And so we ask, so when the IMF is no longer here by the middle of 2026, and they have finished rebranding the ideas that they inherited, which new ideas will they be introducing? Which old ideas will they now be left with to copy? And who will be shepherding them? The previous administration in January 2025 handed over to them an economy that was far larger, far stronger, far less burdened by debt servicing than what they handed to us in January 2027. Their singular instinct has been to capitalize on the architecture that was innovated by the NPP. Gold for reserves, gold for oil, gold for forex are examples. And now, even that one, they are running into massive losses that you will have to pay at the end of the day. What have they contributed? Nothing. Just rebranding. They simply took the PMMC and the work that MIF was doing and decided to restructure it under the Goldbod and quickly pass a bill to grant it sweeping powers over all small-scale gold, plus 20% gold by large-scale miners. Sadly, without the technical competence required to operate this complex structure that they wanted to do, we are saddled with $214 million debt, now moving towards 300. And it doesn't matter whether they tell you it's no Goldbod loss, it's Bank of Ghana loss, or it's Bank of Ghana loss, it's no Goldbod. At the end of the day, the Ghanaian taxpayer is the one. On behalf of the people of Ghana, we are demanding the following: a bipartisan parliamentary inquiry into the circumstances under which the Republic of Ghana has lost $214 million, heading to $300 million, to be done here by the Parliament of Ghana on a bipartisan basis, as I mentioned. And we're asking for a parliamentary ad hoc investigative committee with power to subpoena all contracts, licenses, intermediaries, including this Bower Rock monopoly that this morning we have informed you about. Under this bipartisan inquiry, we will be expecting the Bank of Ghana and the Goldbod to publish the fee structure, the pricing formula, the aggregator selecting criteria, and all foreign exchange arrangements that they have tied to this scheme, which has led to this loss. There are also environmental issues that have to be dealt with. And one of the things we're asking for is a suspension of permits in forest reserves and the introduction of serious measures on traceability. Because as at now, we have every reason to believe that state money is being used to buy Galamsey gold. Also, we are expecting the governor of the central bank and the chief executive of the Goldbod to appear before the committee as other persons who will be invited and to provide all the information that is required for the Republic to understand in detail what has happened and to put measures in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. and where negligence is proven, prosecutions must follow, and all recoverable funds must be clawed back to the state. This crisis, colleagues, is not about politics. It's about whether Ghana still stands as a guardian of the resources that we have been given, and we have the ability to use it for generations unborn, or whether temporary gains will lead us to irresponsible behavior that leads us into debt and at the same time destruction of our environment. To the people of Ghana, it is in your name and on your behalf that we are doing this. To our chiefs, leaders, market women, students, unions, civil societies, academia, and the diaspora, your voices are the only force left to defend this democracy, to defend this republic, to defend this country. Fellow Ghanaians, gold may glitter, but the truth has to endure beyond today. May history record that when our gold was taken and our rivers were poisoned and our future was mortgaged, we all stood up in a bipartisan way to find out the causes, to put in place the plugs, and to hold accountable the persons who have made this happen. This is not a moment for spectators. It's a moment for all of us as citizens to rise and be part of the solution. I thank you for your time, and if there are questions, I'll take them now. Eriano mebone tofa uchi kakra sene amunim no nka braid yedi bronya tinko bia ofie nema bi ko ehwe hia se nyina yebefi akwantu na yasamba edikan IMF ama Ghana nyina ati ase se 50 January this September no Ghana ya boka $214 million ewo gold a enyuma kuwa odo Bank of Ghana ni Goldbod omo eto edibia boa ye reserves ana omo to aton boka ya boka $214 million